Okay, golly, I guess we're live. Hello to everyone, and a million thanks to everyone who's sent kind wishes my way. I really appreciate it. I feel your support and your love, and I'm very grateful for it on this 2020 Thanksgiving Day. Excuse me a second here. There we go. Okay. Let's see. We've got all kinds of stuff coming up here. I'm Dave Casler. We will officially start at 7 o'clock Mountain Time in about 10 minutes, and we'll just chat back and forth for a while. Good to hear from so many people. We already have 83 concurrent viewers. I've got a list of questions a mile long here because I've missed a few, but I'm hoping that I can put that behind me. I do feel better. I'm able to walk around the house. I did put a video together. It was a little more work than I thought it would be. And I'll try to do just simple videos for the next couple weeks while I kind of gather my strength. For those of you wondering what the hoofra is all about, I suffered a very bad case of bleeding ulcers, peptic ulcers, and ended up having to receive blood and all that kind of thing, and all the attendant hoofra that goes along with being in the hospital and so on. The cause of it appears to have been the ibuprofen I took when I had some dental work done. I'm getting my lower jaw prepared for denture, and so they took out all the teeth at once and then gave me some ibuprofen, and I tried not to use very much of it, but obviously used too much. I didn't realize. I knew ibuprofen attacks the kidneys, but I didn't realize it attacked the stomach lining too, or I would have been a little more careful with it. At first I thought it was food poisoning, but very similar symptoms. But anyway, I go in tomorrow morning for a blood test to see how my blood levels are doing, but I can tell just by how I'm feeling that it's up a little bit. I've got about, according to the doctor, half the red blood cells I should have. And let's see what we've got here. No video, audio only. Well, that's interesting because I am seeing video on YouTube. I'm looking at the YouTube studio over on this side of the screen. This side of the screen I've got OBS. And it says, oh, I guess we are having some connection problems. It says, suggestion, the audio stream's current bitrate is lower than the recommended bitrate. Let's see if I've got a link. Let's see, command, ping. It's showing it. There's some good, some bad. Okay, it says excellent connection now. Let me look at the comments to see. Okay, looks fine here. Very good. Okay, great. We've got questions tonight, of course. Anyway, I was just mentioning that just to kind of end the medical discussion, which is boring to everybody except the people who are going through it. It's going to take me a couple months at least to build my blood supply back up. They don't just hand me blood to bring it back up. They bring the blood level up to the amount that I can get by, and then I have to go rest for a couple months while the body regenerates the blood. Let's see what we got here. Okay. It says audio and video in perfect harmony. That's nice. Let's see, Dave's. I've seen some Samlex videos. I'm hoping to connect 2 radios eventually and just need something quiet. The Samlex is pretty quiet. It has a fan in it. If you're transmitting a lot, the fan will come on. If you're not transmitting, the fan won't be there very much. Okay. Who is the young man? Yeah, well, I'm hardly young. Sydney, Australia. Boy, you are, let's see, it's 1:53 UTC, so it must be about that in the afternoon there. Being on dialysis, EW30J. No video on TV, okay on computer. Well, that's a YouTube issue. Astron 50 amp linear to feed my IC7300 9700. Good quiet power supply and built like a tank. Yes, it is. It's big. Okay. Yeah. And Don mentioned he was in the hospital all day with his brother. Sorry to hear that. Yeah. Okay. Sam likes, what about RF quiet? Yeah, it's very RF quiet. I've not noticed any issue of any kind with the reference station power supply, which is the Samlex SEC1235M. I got the one with the meters on it because I like dancing needles when I'm operating. So, okay. Yeah. Yeah, the Sony 7506 headphones, that's these right here. I use those for editing. They're studio headphones. They are not designed to enhance the sound that you hear, like the Beats headphones or something. They're designed to give you incredible fidelity instead. And when you're doing recording work or video work, you want that. You want to know what the signal going out is going to sound like. Rest of my big IR arrives tomorrow. Great. KD8MTY. Solar flux over 100 today. Yeah, the new cycle is going to ramp up reasonably rapidly over about a 3-year period. And it just gets better and better and better over there. Oh, I won't wear myself out. I'm just sitting here. A tutorial on the lithium iron phosphate batteries. I have one here from BioNO Power. I picked it up at Dayton. Got a really good discount on it at Dayton. Got the charger with it too. I think the battery plus the charger for $100, something like that, which is a lot less than that's less than what the battery itself costs these days. Brand new owner of a titanium plate on my shattered collarbone. Well, yeah, I once had to accompany one of our Mormon missionaries. I got a phone call one night, and the 2 missionaries were headed back to their apartment, and they were on bicycles. And this one missionary crashed his bicycle and broken something. And they called me. So I went down and picked him up and took him down to, there was in Lafayette a urgent care facility that's part of the Boulder Hospital. And went through with him while they x-rayed, figured out what was going on, got him settled and so on. And then finally the officials in his chain of command came and picked him up. Yeah, it hurts. It just hurts. We had a wonderful Thanksgiving today, Benjamin. We were we had it here alone at home. We had salmon and mashed potatoes and gravy and cranberry sauce, and it was outstanding. It was delicious. We splurged for that meal. Just really enjoyed it. And got some leftovers too. So we followed the guidelines here in Colorado, which are to basically stay home. We're back where we were. And the number of hospitalizations is actually higher now than it was during the pandemic in the March, April, May type frame. When I was in the hospital this last time, I went down to Montrose Memorial, which is a level 3 hospital, meaning they have doctors and specialists on call. And I went down there, but they couldn't keep me there because they didn't have a room. So they sent me up to St. Mary's Hospital in Grand Junction, which is a level 2 hospital, meaning they keep doctors in the ER and they've got specialists on call. The only level 1 hospital, trauma level 1 hospital in Colorado is in Denver, and that's where they keep doctors and specialists in the hospital on standby, ready to go. So let's see, William, somebody passed their extra upgrade. Congratulations. I'm not going to go back to the earlier comments because I'll end up missing something. Like last time I lost my audio for several minutes, didn't know it because I was looking at older comments. Yeah, a good duplexer design, KE0OG GXG from Guadalajara. What's a good duplexer design for 2 meter 440? Take a look at the Bridgecom website. And that's a fairly established technology now. If you look at the ARRL antenna book, they may have some stuff in there. The handbook certainly will. I would imagine that your Mexican equivalent of the ARRL probably has some instructions and stuff too. What's the amp hour on the Bioano battery? Is 14. Let's see. Your energy is back. Yeah, I'm getting better. Finally got on the air this weekend with the 7300. Sort of afraid to talk on the air. Oh, dive in. Think of it this way. It's very, very likely, like 99% likely, nobody's recording anything. And your signal radiates outward from your antenna at the speed of light, meaning it escapes Earth just a tiny fraction of a second after you talk. So if you say something wrong, it dissipates and it's gone immediately. So go ahead and call CQ and then tell the person you're talking to that this is your very first HF QSO. And they will be happy to and honored to have been your first QSO. So just dive in. I know. Can tune the titanium plate into a radiator. There you go. Far West Missouri. Hello, Glenn. 7300 works great with WinLink. Plug in a USB cord, configure and go. Changes frequency for you and switches back to the voice channel you were listening to before. That's pretty cool. 10 meters has been hot in the middle of the day. It would be. It's something really good to try. And if you're going to try something like 12, call CQ so people know you're there. And Bob Anderson is the first with Super Chat this evening. Let's see. Yes, Bridgecom Systems. gmail.com. Waiting on my tech test soon. Ed, I hope you're really looking forward to that. Reese asks if you can convert XL to ADIF. I don't really know what ADIF is. Perhaps someone else listening tonight does, and they can talk about that. My daughter's a level 1 regional trauma center. That's the one in Murray, Utah. It's very well positioned. By the way, that's where my mother died. She had her last moments there. It's in Murray, Utah, and it's a big, beautiful hospital. It's very close to my sister's house, and when my sister's husband had a heart attack, the fact that they were just literally minutes away saved his life. So, this crazy business. And the Supreme Court is going off on a tangent now, saying, the Constitution doesn't allow you to restrict religion, which is good. I like that. I'm a Mormon. I like that. Our church has been through enough persecution. But somebody's got to understand somewhere that there's a public health emergency right now, and that we've got to cooperate on getting that fixed. And I'm trying to do my part. I'm going to try to do a video every day so you have something ham radio related to look forward to every day, however oblique it may be. Okay, let's see, it's 7 o'clock, so we can officially start. Here's my... Okay, so it's official now. I'm Dave Casler, amateur radio call sign KE0OG, and welcome to our weekly live stream. And welcome Augies worldwide. We have people on from Australia, where I think it's the middle of the day, or getting into early afternoon, and people from all over the world, and it's just absolutely wonderful to have everybody together. Our purpose in gathering this evening is to talk ham radio, and we're going to do that by answering questions that are sent to hamradioanswers@gmail.com. The easiest way to do that is to go to my website, KE0OG.net. Note the .net, not .com, although .com actually will get you there. KE0OG.net/ask-Dave. And that seems to be where most people go. So I've had some interesting times with Gmail. By the way, I just came up with a new one. I want to do a channel on the airplane, assuming I can get back to it. I haven't soloed yet. I was this close to soloing. We were down to the part where you flare and then land. Okay, and the problem I'm having right at the moment is I get lined up on the runway and I'm ready to go on the runway moves. And it's very annoying. So I said, okay, we've got to stick an intermediate step in here. How do I, in spite of the wind, stay on track for that runway and land straight? And so that was what we were really going to be working on in November. Well, it's probably January that we'll be working. Kalana Lakshitha, thank you very much for $5 for channel funds. Much appreciated. ADIF amateur data interchange format. Oh, that's, okay. So, Reese, I see what you're trying to do, is to get an Excel file in shape to become a log. I'm wondering if N3FJP software will import Excel files. There's got to be a way to do it. Basically, you've got to assign a column to a field in the ADIF. If I had to do it from scratch, I'd write a basic program to do that. Let's see. 99.9994% chance of survival if you're under the age of 50. I am not under the age of 50. Okay. All right. And Life and Death tells Reese that there are instructions and can Google them. Sean, hello. Good to see you. Sean was my ground school teacher and has been a mentor to me in the aviation. If I had a 50-foot run of LMR 400 suspended 2 feet above the ground during rough testing after I tripped on it, the line has severe SWR programs. Did I ruin my expensive coax? No, but it sounds like you may have ripped it out of one of the connectors on the ends. All it takes is about 1/8 of an inch of a pull, and you can end up shorting the cable. So get that cable out of there. Just test it for DC continuity. The center pin to center pin should be short circuit. Outer jacket to outer jacket should be a short circuit, and it should be an open circuit between the two. David Wilson has also contributed to Channel Fun, says the Ask Dave series was a great help for me as I was learning from my license and after. Thank you. And David, you're certainly welcome. I will tell you again that it's very important to me to know that I'm doing some good here. As I was sitting in the hospital thinking of a YouTubeless month, thinking, okay, one of my ways that I give back is through this YouTube channel. And if I don't have the YouTube channel, how am I giving back? What am I doing to give back to people, just people? And so I said, I've got to get back. I've got to get back and do this. Look at the end of the runway. Yes, I can look at the end of the runway and watch it go out from under me. He says do a slip when the winds are blowing. One of the things I have to demonstrate as part of the check ride is a slip to landing. I've tried a few slips, both left and right, at 2,000 feet above ground. That's where I've tried them. I just take a while. I'm not mechanical. I'm not athletic. I couldn't pitch a ball to save my life. I'd be like Dr. Fauci, pitching that opening game there where the ball went way off over to the side. So, there's they've done some research about pilot brain structure, and there are people who are really cut out to be pilots, who grasp it intuitively. I'm not one of them, but I know how to persevere, so I'm going to persevere and make that happen. Any Black Friday deals in the ham radio community? Well, Amateur Radio Outlet, if you go to www.hamradio.com, has promised some Black Friday deals. I really suspect DX Engineering has got them. So if you will check them out, you may find some good bargains on things that you might be looking for. How can I tell if I screwed up the PL259s? You can do that just with a simple ohm meter. I'll tell you what, I'll do tomorrow's video on doing a DC continuity check on cable. Okay. I've got, in fact, a couple little this is a lamp. It's a 12 volt LED, and I have it connected to an SO239. So I can put this out in the yard. I can take the coax that's in the yard, connect it to this, okay, and then aim the light toward the house. Oh, come on, you can focus. There we go. Aim the light toward the house. Go in the house and apply 12 volts across the coax. That ought to light up. Okay, the simple and easy check. So tomorrow's video is on checking coax cables for basic integrity. Okay, we'll do that. Hello from Venezuela. How are you? I'm not sure of the Spanish pronunciation of Venezuela. I took Spanish in high school and kind of got into it for a while. Is it to the point where I could think in Spanish? And Spanish would be very helpful here in the Colorado area. There are a lot of Hispanics in the area. But I'd lost the skill. Let's see, we've got Hilkiah Levinier from the Caribbean island of Dominica. That's the same island that, oh golly, Ishmael J72 IMS is from, also from Dominica. Yeah, well, actually, I am on oxygen. It's just a lot easier to do this. The little oxygen portable unit here makes an awful lot of noise. Yeah, Doc Fauci couldn't flatten the curve on that pitch. Okay. DX has some sales now. Okay, great. And from Hotel Juliet 3, Hotel Delta Delta, from Colombia. Okay, you know, it's 1:15. We better look at some questions here. Yeah, my aviation goals are to become a sport pilot. And I ended up going ahead and purchasing an airplane to train in because I couldn't find anything else around here to train in. And of course, after I got the airplane, people say, well, why didn't you use that one? So anyway, the only aircraft for rent at Delta, actually pretty much the whole western slope, is a Cessna 182, which is a handful of an airplane for a new person. Okay, and Don suggests we hit the like button. That would be very helpful to me. Okay, let's go to some of the questions we've got here. This first one is from Jim McCane. It's got a percentage in there, GTJ. Have an Anytone D878 UV Plus. Code plugs do not go properly, shows band error. Pressing PTT and one key simultaneously when turning radio on will not let me get to test mode. Radio has firmware 1.2. I don't know. Make sure your firmware is up to date. It kind of depends on where you bought your 878. If you got it from Bridgecom Systems, as I suggested, you can go to Bridgecom Systems and ask for some help, and they have lots of videos and so on. They've got them behind a paywall. If you didn't buy it from there, I would think, and somebody tell me if this is the case, that there is a, it's not a Reddit, Groups.io. There's a Groups.io group on it where you can ask that question. It seems to me I've seen band error before, and I can't remember just what it goes to. Perhaps somebody online can say. Okay, this next entry is from KN6LIT. Just got a mini whip active antenna, but doesn't seem to work with no new any SDR on 2 meters. Any ideas? I think that's a SDR receiver, so he's talking receive only. Because when you're talking active antenna, you're usually talking receive only, unless it's something for moon bounce or something like that. Check the frequency response on the mini whip active antenna. Okay. Now, a couple things to keep in mind. If you were to look at the whole 2 meter band on an SDR waterfall, which you can do, you will see that at any given moment in time, there's not very much activity. There's not much going on. You want to look at the whole 2 meter band, and you can pick out a repeater here, a repeater there. Now, if you get into the metropolitan areas back east, then there's a lot more going on 2 meters. Because you get over on the Atlantic coast and the metro areas kind of blend into each other. And so there's repeaters everywhere. Now, an active antenna needs power. So that's the second thing to think of. The active antenna needs power. So make sure that the battery, or however it gets power, is in fact powered, and check that power goes all the way through. It is possible, like using the little MFJ, what do you call it here? Bias T. The bias T. Using a bias T, you can put 12 volts on the coax and to send up to power the radio. That's how I power my active HF antenna that's out here, the circular one from MFJ, is with this little bias T over here. Comes off the solar and then goes up into there. So check the power, check the fact that there may not be much on 2 meters. You want to make sure that you get the thing on an active antenna. Of course, maybe all of 2 meters is what you're trying to look at. I don't know the new electric, it's NOOELEC, NE, SDR. I don't know that particular model. I have the SDR Play. I have all 3 of their models. I use the low one, the low-end one, $100, and it works very well. It's powered by USB. It has the power to power a active antenna, but only if it's 5 volts. My active antenna is 12 volts, so I power it separately with the bias T down here. Okay, hope that helps. A bias T is something that enables you to put energy on the 12 volts, but it doesn't go into the radio. So, let's see. Let me do another video. I'm going to keep a list here so I can do all of these. We'll go to the overhead. I think I've got audio here, yeah. Okay, so we've got one on DC test of coax, one on bias T and how they work. Okay, and we'll just keep a list there. And come back here. Let me just glance back at the stream. Oh my, we've got several things have happened here. Okay, David Wilson. Mike Oswald, thank you very much for the 25. FA18MHR with $5, thank you. Yeah, that is, Tom, you're correct. That's exactly why I got the airplane. Plus, I'm learning a lot about airplanes. It's not a very big airplane. It's a pretty dinky airplane, but it is a two-seater, and it will go up in the sky. The highest we've had it is 11,500 feet, and we were at that altitude because we were going over mountains. As you'll recall, Sport Pilot can go up to 10,000 feet, or 2,000 feet over terrain. So that's where we came up with that. I don't know why some of the messages they hold for review are just totally innocuous. It says the Noelec is a well-respected dongle type SDR. Very good. Okay. Think about joining the Long Island CW Club. Go ahead. Go ahead, do it. McCane Systems in Georgia is a good source for hex beam parts. Very good. Jerry Sebring in Florida says hello. Okay. Very inexpensive, yeah. Page Master works on Cessna airplanes for a living. What do I think about the solar flux index? Well, I think very good things lie ahead. Scientists are starting to say this is going to be a very good cycle for us. We'll see. 11,000 feet for 30 minutes, but you have oxygen now. Yeah, that worries me. I will most certainly be using, well, let's see, the airport is at 5,200 feet, so the pattern altitude is 6,200 feet. And we do most of our maneuvers at 7,500 feet. Well, I actually live at 7,000 feet. The Delta Airport's quite a bit that way. So on. Okay, your thoughts on CubeSats? Well, you know, the big... yeah, I'm well. The big festoche right now in the region of CubeSats is the Tesla Skylink system, which is going to consist of thousands of low Earth satellites. Thousands. And they've already got hundreds up. And the astronomers are up in arms, totally up in arms, because they point their telescope at the sky and they open up a time exposure and all they get's a bunch of streaks. All these satellites passing the telescope. So, but that's going, they're only about this big. They're small, they're very small. And they're designed so that when they're done with them, they will burn up, send them back down to Earth. Amateur sats are being made on these CubeSats. Now, a CubeSat isn't necessarily just one cube. You can stack them. Okay. Thoughts on transverters? Well, it's an old technology. It's a technology that hams used to get on VHF and UHF with their HF radios. Now, of course, there's a whole array of radios that work very well at those frequencies. But you need a transverter now to get on the new long bands, the new long wave bands. 2200 meters, 2.2 kilometer band, and the 600 meter band. You'll need transverters. They're just really, yeah. The cabin pressure on my radio, or my airplane, what's outside is what's inside. There's no pressurization. New General Ham, what is the best antenna for barefoot radio setup that will cover 80 through 10? Well, I'd start with a 40 meter dipole and then build out from there. If you have plenty of room, start with a 40 meter dipole, get that working, then add a 10 meter or a 20 meter fan for it, get that working. Then maybe you can try something on 80, get that working, start out and grow from there. Off center fed. Now, Okay, I will tell you the reference antenna for the HF station is the MFJ 2010. So go take a look at that. It's cheap. It's a good way to start, and it's a fully competent antenna. A good antenna. Starlink will have 2,300 satellites in the sky. Yeah, it's supposed to be something fantastic. And there are very few people on Earth, like one, who is capable of doing that, and that is the guy behind Tesla, Elon Musk. He is going to go down in history as a polymath. He got America back into space, and you know, it's interesting that, well, NASA, yeah, they got their rockets going too, but the NASA rockets cost several times what that SpaceX rocket costs, what that ride costs. So, should Laura on CubeSats be allowed to take banned chirp? Stephen, I don't follow that question. Could you rephrase that? ISS passed overhead here last week. Yeah, it actually will. Probably several times a week. Solar flux and what the numbers mean. Okay, I'm going to put down on my list here solar flux. Okay. Let's see, Wolf River coil, 18-wheeler. Yeah. Okay. What radio is good for a new tech? Yeah. I haven't found, you know, the Anytone D878UV is not cheap. It's about $250, but man, is it a good radio. It will do FM and DMR. Now, if you've got a hotspot, you can get into what they've done. There are some rooms, they're called talk groups in DMR, rooms, I guess, in D-Star, where if you go in on DMR, you're coming out also on D-Star. So we're starting to see a little bit of the edging of how those things will work together. Okay. Solar number is the muff. Well, the solar number helps the muff. The muff is the maximum usable frequency. When will our 11-year cycle start moving up? It is now starting to move up. We have passed the solar minimum. It is now time, we're on the upswing of the curve. Okay, now the Yaesu FD4XR, is that an FM only radio? I think they're Yaesu's handhelds. They've got some that are the C4 IFM. What you should do, C4 IFM, thinking my DoD training. Felipe sends $49.99, $50 to the chat revenue. Thank you very much. Let's see. If the SO239 is the problem on that feed line, I suppose I have no option but to remove the end and completely redo it. Unfortunately, connectors are not maintainable. If it went on bad or has become bad, you got to chop and put the new one on. So, yeah, there's some good. Any radio you get from Yaesu, Icom, Kenwood, to some extent Alinco, are very good radios. The Anytone radios are great radios. Now, I've looked at a lot of the Radioddity radios, and they're also very good, although I have panned some of them in the past. Okay? says 10 and 12 meter SSB were open in northern Colorado today. QSO with Bonaire today. Okay, that's a north-south route down to the Caribbean. I think lots of good things are going to be happening. So if you've been putting off getting a good HF rig or putting off getting your general license, now is the time, because the sunspots are going to start taking off. They'll be better for about 3 years. They'll be great for about 2 years. And then we go into the decline again. Okay, let's look at some more questions here. I have, this is from Dwane N6DSE. I have an iMac running Big Sur, and before I connect the USB cable from my Icom 7300, do I still need to download some kind of driver? Yes, you do. I'm sorry, you do. And the only drivers that I know of are made for Windows. I don't know of any from the Mac. Maybe somebody online does, but I don't think the news is good, Dwayne, on that front. This one is from David Vine. I should recognize that name. WA1EAW. Hope you're feeling better, and I'm on the road to recovery. Yes, I am. Thanks for sharing Turkey Day with us. Here's my question. I have a 107-inch collapsible whip antenna and the Wolf River coil gear that came with the Take It Along antenna. For some reason, they sent me the 40-meter and up coil instead of the 80-meter coil I was planning on getting. In any case, antenna experimentation is something I enjoy. I purchased a $70 LC meter from All Electronics. Okay, these are meters that are like voltmeters, but they will actually measure the inductance or capacitance under a limited set of conditions. It's important to understand this, that they are not, if you're going to use that coil at VHF, it may not act like a coil at all. But yeah, they're coming out. I don't have one. I need to get myself one. What do you think is a good range of Henry measurement for a homemade coil to use with the whip on 75-meter phone band? Well, you're going to have to do a lot of experimentation on this. You don't want the coils too close together because they'll arc. You're basically going to be inductance loading your whip. I would contact Wolf River and ask them. I don't know. You could look in the antenna book, but I think you're going to get lost in all of the nomographs and equations and everything that they've got in there. Basically, what you're wanting to do is add some inductance so that you can tune that thing on 80, which in principle you can do. Now, my Step IR Big IR has the 80-meter coil. It's a pretty good sized coil. It's wound to take 1500 watts. But actually you use like this much coil for the top of the 80-meter band, the 75-meter portion, and then you add this much for more and add this much for more and so on. So there's several taps in there. And you can cover all of 80 meters that way. So now it's very important to note this. They had 5 taps on that coil to cover the band. When you add inductive loading to an antenna, the antenna Q goes up, meaning that its bandwidth goes down. Okay, and that's what's going to happen to you on 80 meters. You'll find a nice inductor setting for part of the 80-meter band, but if you tune more than 100 kilohertz off, you'll find that no go. You need to retune. So Yeah, I can't give you a number, and that's a shortcoming on my part. I've never engineered a loading coil for an 80 meter antenna. Okay, let's go to this next one. Is from Arthur Garfield, W9VUP. I've just returned to ham radio and have received my vanity call sign, W9VUP. However, I am permanently located in region 8. What is the proper way to identify my station when I am on the air? If I were portable or mobile, I would be W9VUP/8, but does it change for permanent location? Arthur, it need not anymore. Anymore, you can just answer W9VUP. Now, if you are in a contest or something like that, where location is important, you might want to sign W9VUP/8. It's up to you. It's up to you. It used to be that you would have to, but that was 50 years ago. You don't have to anymore. So you can just sign W9VUP, but you will confuse people as to where you are. So if you're on HF, your locals are going to get used to you, but if you're on HF, you may want to do /8 or something like that. It's not creating a separate location a la Logbook of the World. You want to keep that as your permanent antenna. So I would just sign W9VUP. Okay, let's go to Todd KO4CJ. Hey Dave, sure missed you last week. Hope you're feeling better. Thank you. I was encouraged when I saw you are set to live stream tomorrow night. My question is, what do you think of an Icom 718 for first HF radio? The Icom 718 is the equivalent of the Yaesu FT450. It's a budget entry-level radio. Now, as I've said many times, today's entry-level radio is better than the top-of-the-line radio from 40 years ago. So the 718 is a fine radio. It is basic. I'm trying to think. I think it has digital noise reduction in it. If it does not, that may be a feature you may want to have. If you want the best radio for the money, I would recommend that you see if you can dig a little deeper and get the Icom 7300. The Icom 7300 is the reference station radio. Says it also wants a good 75/80 meter antenna. I think that one of the problems you have with that, as I mentioned earlier, antennas on 80 meters don't cover the whole band. You probably want the 75 part. Take a look at my antennas, end-fed half-wave 75-10. It will cover the 75 meter portion of 80 meters, and then all the other bands except 60. I have one. I bought it. They didn't send it to me. I bought it with channel funds. And I've tested it out, and I'm very impressed. What do you know about a horse fence antenna? Well, I will tell you immediately that that would be a suboptimal antenna, and you will be frustrated with the results. For your very first antenna, I would suggest you get the reference station antenna, which is the MFJ 2010, and that will set you back about $80, and that will give you 40 and 20, which are the hot bands. Now, it will also give you 10 meters and 6 meters. So there are lots of different antennas that you can do. I did a recent video, well, maybe not so recently now, a recent video on the different antennas I looked at for the reference station. So that's what I would suggest, Todd. Okay, let's take another one here. Tim W4TLA, are you okay, Dave? No, I'm not. I'm severely anemic. I have about half the red blood cells I should have. Been praying for you and hope you are all right. Seems like you may have had a bit of a rough ride lately. Yeah, it was a little bit of a scary ride. Thanks for all you do. Best to you, Tim in Tampa. I used to live in Tampa many years ago. Tim, thank you very much. Okay, this is from Anthony Gettig, N8VOX. We've been dealing with gastro issues. No, this is totally random, but my wife and I have been moved to have you in our prayers. Thank you, Anthony. I appreciate that. Just hang in there. Blessings to the max. Anthony, thank you very much. N8VOX. The next one is, let's see. This is Dave. It was VE3HFX. Also VA3HFX. Don't know the difference. I have been told that if I use a metal bulkhead at my window, which I plan to do to bring in my coax cables, and ground the bulkhead, which will be about 10 feet away from my radios, that I will lose half of my signal. No, you won't. I will be using barrel bulkhead connectors, which will become grounded together as a common point where they pass through the metal bulkhead. Then I was going to ground the panel to an outside ground, specially for grounding my cables. This way I can close the window down on the bulkhead panel to keep the bugs and the weather out. I don't see how I would lose anything, as the coax cables would be grounded at the top of the tower where the antenna is fastened to begin with. You're right, it won't. What happens outside a cable doesn't affect what happens inside the cable. Running 8 to 9 fittings, that's quite a few. Can't drill any holes in the wall because he rents. Told that I should use a piece of wood with a piece of ABS and a 90-degree elbow pointed down to fill the gap in the window, and then ground my radio to a separate ground. Ground to a single point ground. Your station ground should go to your ground rod. Your panel ground should go to the ground rod. And somewhere in there, I hope you've got some lightning arresters. Okay? And I don't have a video on that specific subject, but I do have a video on grounding. It's hashtag number 8. Okay, Musetown, sponsorship opportunities. I don't think I need to be advertising somebody's makeup products. This is from Andy, M0AQM. Dave, given your last update and the subsequent lack of videos, I hope you're recovering well. I'll be back delivering excellent content soon. Best 73s, Andy. Thank you very much, Andy. Okay, this is Doug Smith. New to ham radio, but checked out your YouTube channel. What do you think of Kenwood brand handheld 2-meter transceivers? They're fine. The Kenwood, all the Kenwood products, all the Yaesu products, all the Icom products are fine. They all do the same thing. Now, your big question is, do you want to just do FM? Or do you want to do one of the VHF digital modes? VHF/UHF. DMR is usually UHF. Not always. So you have to, Kenwood does D-Star. Icom does D-Star. Here's what I would suggest you do. Go to your local club, find out what everybody does locally, and do that. Okay? That way you'll get the most support. People tend to congregate. You know, this club tends to do D-Star or something like that. Okay? This is from Matt Carvette. Says, I don't know him, but recently passed his tech in general. Says, you're an amazing teacher. Thank you very much. Teach so we understand. I try. I really do. Wishes health and happiness from my old stomping grounds in Southern California. Well, very good, Matt. WN6MEC. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Okay, this is from Ishmael Samuel in Dominica. J72 IMS. Hello, David. How are you? The Icom 9100 is in Dominica. The president of the club just needs to clear it. So he's growing his station. He's a teenager. I imagine he's 16 or 17 now. In Dominica. I would imagine it's warmer in Dominica right now than it is here. It's 29 degrees Fahrenheit, which is negative something degrees Celsius. Or negative something Celsius. I can't remember. Let's see. Kelvin doesn't have the word degree with it. Celsius does. If I got that right, let me know. Okay. This is from Patrick, KF0BBD. Is the material from your YouTube 2016 Amateur Radio Extra course up to date? No, that's old. Go to KE0OG.net/extra. KE0OG.net/extra. That will take you to a page full of links. The top link is lesson 1, next link lesson 2. Okay? All the way through. Use that as your guide to make sure you get to the right lessons. Okay? The old 2016 stuff, you know what? I had heard there were significant changes. There weren't. They actually simplified some of the material. They took part out of the waveform descriptions, what waves are, what electric fields are. Actually took it out. Just took it out. I guess there are no questions on it anymore. Let's go back and take a look at questions. Sam M. I see Sam M. has added to channel funds there. And Felipe has too. Vegan diet. That's about what I'm eating right now because I can't chew. The dental work that I started before all this other stuff, it's still sitting there hanging out. It's got to be done. Okay. Hitting the pavement on learning CW, learning the alphabet. All of my preparation focuses on copying CW. What's the best? I suggest the G4FON software. Gulf 4 Fox Oscar November. Just look it up. And they have a Morse trainer. And it will start you out with 2 letters at a time, then 3, and then it's got an order that it likes to do these things at. Also, it has sample QSOs for practice. Also, if you want, you can do random characters for practice. The program can inject noise, so it feels like you're actually copying on the air in the presence of noise. And it will also inject interference, other signals, so you can really concentrate on the one you're trying to get. It's really a very nice little trainer. It should run on Windows and will do a good job for you. I'm very impressed with it. I used it to kind of get back up to speed when I was dabbling in CW a couple of years ago. Okay, nano VNA can also be used to tune inductors and traps at the working frequency. Yes, absolutely, and I'm going to leave it to AEW, who's more technical than I am. Okay, practice to transition into sending. Yeah, I made my feelings clear on that in a video about using the Icom 7300 as a way to check the quality of your hand sending of Morse code. And people point out that I make my DAWs quite a bit longer than my DITs. Instead of just 3 times, sometimes 4, even 5. Thank you from We the People. -3 degrees C sounds about right. Somebody else said -1 C. JT6188 said 61 degrees Fahrenheit. Yeah. OM is pronounced Dominica. Lived 10 years in the Caribbean and learned to pronounce the names. Yes. I've heard and considered that, but let's see. C is 1.8 degrees off from F, yes. Okay. Okay, I just got my tech and general licenses and says, I'm a good teacher. Thank you very much. My dad was a teacher. And then he went into work down at the Los Angeles Unified School District headquarters in downtown Los Angeles, just south of Chinatown. And he and Polly Coffin and a few other people there pioneered what they called their program for the educable mentally retarded, or EMRs. And that morphed into what today we know as special education. And I'm very proud to say that my father was present at the birth and helped midwife that through. It was adopted statewide in California, so Dad went up to Sacramento and testified before the legislature. And it became nationwide, and Dad went and testified before Congress about how the thing works. So the program, if your child is fortunate enough to be in special education, it's for those who are having trouble keeping up. You're benefiting from some of my father's work. I'm deeply proud of what he did. He's passed away about a year ago, but was a teacher. Okay. Let's see. Having trouble finding a site that will teach how to read the Boulder Digisond graph. You might look at that very site. They will have some explanations on there. And let's see, Benjamin Otto says he tried the G4F1 and couldn't figure it out. It wanted me to send what it was printing on the screen. All it did was play 2 characters over and over. Well, that's maybe because you haven't told it to graduate beyond the 2 characters. I've gone in and told it, just give me all the characters. Now, I want to caution people learning Morse code. Learn the numbers. Learn the punctuation marks. Comma, period, double dash, or M dash, da. And you need the slash. The slash for virtual. And the FAA uses another name for it too. And you need to know those, and you need to know the numbers. You got to know the numbers. You can't concentrate just on the letters, because in actual KE0OGs, call signs have got numbers in them. The RST will have numbers in it. Okay, when somebody describes their station, they're going to have numbers in it. IC 7300. That kind of thing. So that's something you've got to work with there. Let's take a couple more questions here. I don't think I need to worry about sponsorship opportunities. Okay, we looked at that. Some of these come through as duplicates. This is from Ray Burns, WB2MLY. Trying to configure FL Digi to operate with my Flex 1500 and with my Win 10 computer. I have HRD running and WSJTX. Okay, the two are kind of mutually exclusive. If you've got HRD running, don't run DM680, is that it? Don't run their digital software at the same time you're running WSJTX. The problem is when I try to configure the audio, when I click on the port audio box, you get an error message saying the device is not available. That's HRD fighting WSJTX. Use one or the other. Using voice meter software for virtual audio on the Flex. and it works on the HRD and WSJTX. Well, I think the two programs are competing with each other for your audio ports. Because HRD has a base layer that it will run, and you can run the logging software, you can run the rotator software, and so on, those different things like that. And I'm not sure how they route the audio, because DM780 will run by itself. It doesn't need that underneath piece. And the same with WSJTX. Now, I know you're trying to do auto logging, and I've not done it with with HRD. My last version of HRD was the last free one. So I'm way out of date on HRD. I use FLDigi, and FLDigi is the reference software because it's free. Because it's free. Okay, do you think a 20-meter hand stick dipole would be a good beginner antenna for portable use? Yeah. The one thing you have to remember is it's base loaded, so it's going to be high Q, so it's not going to cover the entire band. Okay. There are all kinds of things you could do there. Let's see. Okay, so next 50 years, do you see amateur radio being the same as today with government regulations? Yes, with government regulations, absolutely. Those are eternal. It's been with government regulations for 100 years now. So, do I conceive of it being different from what it is today? Vastly different. You know, one way to look to see what kind of change we might see going forward is to look backwards 50 years. And backwards 50 years was 1970. I had just graduated from high school. The HF rigs from Yaesu, the Yaesu FT 101 series. I've got my 101B right here, 50-year-old radio. We're just beginning to hit the market. VHF repeaters were a hot new thing. And books were written about how diplexers worked and all this kind of stuff. Radio still had tubes in them. They had not developed power amplifiers that worked well. The antenna technology is almost identical to what we have today. There's been very little movement except in the area of off-center fed dipoles and end-fed dipoles. Those basically didn't exist in 1970 in U.S. amateur practice. You know, maybe there was a rare one here or there, but by and large they didn't exist. So, okay. Benjamin says, my goal is to make a QSU on straight key night this year. Straight key night is an operating event every New Year's Eve. New Year's Eve. Yeah, the regs have become looser than they were back then. And you'll continue to see some rationalization. And Universal Radio, Fred and Barbara retiring, the site will shut down. Yes. Okay. All right. No enforcement. Yeah, well, the internet did not kill. In 1970, they had invented the internet. I was going to school at UCLA, and unbeknownst to me, on the 4th floor of the engineering building, which was part of the math building, and I took my classes in the math building, they were in the throes of inventing the internet up on that 4th floor. And I had no idea. Boy, if I had grabbed that tiger by the tail, I'll tell you. Okay. We're out of time. Thank you so very much. And I've got 3 videos to work on here. Let's see, Gerald Sneed. Depends on what you got. Fit a 4-band off-center fed dipole or a 6 to 9 band vertical. Try the off-center fed dipole first, because you'll get on the air for much less money. Those 6 to 9 band verticals are expensive, $500 to $600 or more. Okay, yeah. Okay, thank you to everybody. God bless you all. May you have a great Thanksgiving or whatever holiday you might be celebrating today around the world. It's Thanksgiving in the United States. And this is our official beginning of the holiday season. And so to all of you around the world, happy holidays. And I will see you in another week with another live stream. I'll set that up right now so that it's ready and available. And to all of you, I say very sincerely, thank you for the best wishes, the thoughts and prayers for my medical condition. It is enormously appreciated. Thank you for your continuing financial support of this channel, also greatly appreciated. And I will get back to work doing those daily videos. And so, until the next time we meet, 73.